No one noticed her when she first walked through the massive iron gates of the Malik mansion, because people like her were trained not to be noticed. Aisha kept her head slightly lowered, her shoulders tense, her steps quiet, carrying nothing but a small cleaning bag and a life full of silent prayers, unaware that this ordinary morning would shatter destinies and rewrite the meaning of family forever, because inside that mansion lived a boy who had not spoken a single word in 6 years and a man who owned everything except peace. The millionaire, Armin Malik, was known across the city as a ruthless business tycoon, cold, disciplined, untouchable, yet behind the polished marble walls and expensive art pieces, his life was a hollow echo of loss. His wife had died during childbirth, and his son, Zain, survived, but the trauma sealed the child's voice away, locking it behind grief so deep that no doctor, therapist, or specialist could reach it. The boy spoke through his eyes only, large, observant, painfully silent, and Armin, drowning in guilt, tried to replace love with money, hiring the best caretakers, tutors, and nannies, none of whom lasted more than weeks, because Zain rejected them all with quiet terror and withdrawn stares. That morning, Aisha was told clearly by the head housekeeper, "You are only a cleaner. Do not disturb the child. Do not speak to the owner unless spoken to." She nodded, as she always did, because life had taught her obedience after taking everything else from her, her parents in an accident, her dreams of education, her dignity through years of struggle. As she cleaned the long hallway near the sunlit playroom, she noticed the boy sitting alone on the floor, surrounded by untouched toys, his small hands clutching a wooden car with chipped paint, his eyes following her movements with curiosity rather than fear. She didn't approach him. She didn't speak. She simply hummed, a soft, broken lullaby her mother once sang when the world still felt safe, and something unseen shifted in the air. Zain's fingers tightened around the toy. His breathing changed. For the first time, he didn't look away. Day after day, as Aisha returned to clean the same rooms, she hummed again, sometimes changed the tune, sometimes wiped dust near him without acknowledging his presence, treating him not as a fragile problem to fix but as a child allowed to exist in silence, and that was what broke the invisible wall, because silence, when respected, becomes trust. One afternoon, when a glass vase slipped from her hands and shattered loudly, Aisha froze in fear, expecting the boy to recoil as he always did with sudden sounds, but instead, Zain stood up, walked toward her unsteadily, and placed his tiny hand on her shaking fingers, looking up at her not with fear, but concern. Tears filled her eyes, and for the first time, she whispered, "It's okay. I'm okay," not to him, but to herself. From that moment, an invisible bond formed. She tied his shoelaces, he followed her like a shadow, she ate lunch on the floor, he sat beside her, she smiled without reason, and he mirrored it, learning expressions before words. The mansion staff noticed the change first. Then the tutors. Then the therapists. But Armin noticed it last, because he was afraid to hope. Until one evening, as he walked past the playroom, he stopped dead in his tracks when he heard a sound that didn't exist in his world anymore, a word. A fragile, trembling word. Mommy. The billionaire's heart stopped as he turned slowly and saw the impossible, his son standing behind the cleaner, gripping the edge of her dupatta, his lips quivering, eyes wet, repeating it again, "Mommy." The room collapsed into silence. Aisha dropped to her knees in shock, hands covering her mouth, tears falling freely as she shook her head, whispering, "No, no, beta. I'm not," but the child clung tighter, because children recognize truth before labels. Armin fell to his knees too, not as a tycoon, not as a powerful man, but as a broken father watching a miracle unfold in the arms of a woman he had never truly seen. Doctors were called, tests were run, and the verdict shocked everyone. The boy's silence was never physical, it was emotional, and love had done what money never could. But miracles come with storms. Whispers spread. Staff questioned her intentions. Society judged her place. Armin was torn between gratitude and fear, because allowing her close meant reopening wounds he had buried under years of control. When he finally confronted her, accusing her gently, painfully, of crossing boundaries, Aisha stood tall for the first time in her life and said, "Sir, I didn't teach him to call me anything. I just listened when no one else did." That sentence broke him. In the days that followed, the boy spoke more, few words, broken sounds, but each one carried life. Water. Light. And again. Mommy. Not because Aisha replaced his mother, but because she awakened the part of him that still believed in warmth. Armin faced a choice, protect his image or protect his child's healing. And for the first time in his life, he chose love over fear. He offered Aisha more than a job, but she asked for only one thing, to stay, not as an employee, but as someone the child could trust. The chapter closes with Armin watching them from a distance, Aisha reading softly while Zayn rests his head in her lap, and realizing that sometimes God sends angels disguised as cleaners to sweep away the dust from broken hearts. And as this story unfolds, remember this, miracles don't always arrive with noise, they arrive with patience, kindness, and love that expects nothing in return. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you believe in second chances, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more powerful, emotional stories like this are coming, stories that remind us that family is not always born, sometimes it's found.